Factory, weren't they across from like La Villa?
Yeah, was it
that's what
Sandwich Factory or Sandwich World?
It was one of those,
was
and their
where the
pizza
car
was
wash
actually
was.
pretty
Yeah,
good.
they were. Yeah,
Sandwich World.
Alright.
yeah. They had really good wings.
I'm gonna go ahead and start, because it's 6 o'clock.
Okey doke. Oh, and this is my meeting tonight, correct? I was hoping Mr. Patrick was going to be here.
You're cheating.
I'll just make sure I did it right.
Make sure you got the answers. Yeah, don't cheat. Don't look at mine. No, he checked mine, so I know I'm good.
So once we get started, the first thing we could do is
Yeah.
mention them actually.
Okay, I'd like to call this Finance and Legislation meeting to order. Mr. Bass?
I'm here.
Mr. Valley?
I'm here.
Mr. Biggs present. 2 pieces tonight. One is from our clerk, and this is an ordinance to approve current replacement pages to the Struthers codified ordinance and declaring an emergency. Need a motion to bring it out.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Second. Okay. And the next one is from the Mayor and Safety Service Director, and this is an ordinance authorizing the Mayor and Safety Service Director to enter into a contract with Environmental Design Group for engineering services for calendar year 2023 and declaring an emergency. You guys want to speak on it?
Yes, just for a brief explanation. We did have, I believe, 7 different companies turn in proposals when we sent out the RFP. We went through their books, we spoke with a few of them, and we're familiar with a lot of the companies because we've been working with almost all of them throughout the last year to try to see who would fit us the best. We did select EDG, which is Environmental Design Group. We felt that they matched our enthusiasm and our aggressiveness. Met with wastewater. They have a whole department that would handle everything with Guy and Frank. And this is just a 1-year contract. I have the book here if anybody wants to look through it.
Mayor, how many times have we used them prior to this? For anything?
We've met with them. They did our safety study for downtown.
Okay.
So Renee, who handles that, she has her own group that handles all the safety stuff. She's been employed there for many years. She's received award after award after award, and when ODOT needs studies written and things done for the state, she's the one that they call.
Okay.
So she's a huge superstar, and that's something we really are going to be focusing on.
When you call, they get back to you.
Immediately. And our point person, his name would be Ed Wazowski, and he's willing to come to a meeting so he can meet everybody. If there's anybody here in the team that you guys would like to talk to or meet with, we can schedule those, set those up. This is just a 1-year contract, so we'll see how it goes this year. We kept it at $50,000. The contract is attached there, I believe, so if there's any questions, it's similar to the ones that we've had in the past. But this doesn't mean that we cannot use other groups. Like there are some people who specialize in bridges. And
We will be using, even though we signed this contract, there are a couple other contracts that we got going out
So
there.
this isn't an exclusive contract?
It's not exclusive. We're planning on using another engineering firm to design our bridge. They will probably be the inspector on the bridge, because with the ODOT project, you have to have somebody design it, and you have to have a different engineer inspect it. So they will probably be our inspector for the bridge, but they're not going to do the design. We have found somebody that's highly praised in the state for designing bridges, and in fact, they also said the guy that we're picking for the design was very good. So we will use other companies when we find the best fit.
And they're gonna be recommending streets and that too, if they go around?
They will do the,
Yep.
yes,
Just like
the
every-
full engineering service.
Yeah, okay.
Think they'll
This-
recommend Crete?
Yeah.
This next year though, with the resurfacing, it looks like we may only be doing the 2 ODOT projects, Element Center.
The price
Money-wise.
of everything has gone astronomical.
Yeah.
So it's going to eat up a large part of our resurfacing budget this year.
And I have, if anybody wants to look through this.
Okay.
More than welcome. I think
Anybody
we
else,
have two-
anything
we might have two
for this
copies.
piece of legislation? Motion to bring it out?
Make a motion to bring it up.
I
Second?
will second it.
And that appears to be it for legislation.
Do you want me to invite Ed to a meeting so you all can?
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Committee meeting,
like-
would a committee meeting be better?
Yeah.
Okay,
We like visitors.
okay.
As long as they don't get up too late.
I think so.
I have one more thing if you don't mind. I don't have any resolutions written up for it right now, but it was brought to my attention today, the fire department has applied for and gotten a grant for Mark's radios. That's the statewide system that runs digital radios, is the Mark's program. The stipulations of the grant, which is for $9,729.25. There are some stipulations that go along with the grant, including using their services. So for the life of the radio, you have to use the Mark system. Because of that, we're probably going to have some kind of ordinance similar to what we did with the police when they switched to the CAD system with the county. It'll probably be the same type of resolution, but I have to look over, it was just given me today, so I'm going to look over all the fine details, and I might have something for you next week. Okay?
Okay. Is that the Richard Mark system?
It's,
Or- Fair enough.
Harpo.
Yeah. So I know we did want to discuss, and since we don't have a lot here tonight, would you guys like to discuss the tax abatement a little bit? Everybody good with that? I know we were pretty much in agreement on trying to be more proactive in ours and a little bit more aggressive. Looking it over, the only way I really see to do that is to kick it out further. We give quite a bit. It does give quite a bit of tax incentive on the top end if you qualify for all those things. So what I would like to do is, it's over what, 5 years, is that correct?
it's actually 10 years, but after the 5th year, your abatement starts decreasing 20% a year for the last 5 years.
Well, instead of decreasing on the back end of the 5 years, we can keep it a little stronger, even if we stayed in our 10-year time frame. And again,
Don't decrease it at all, is that what you're saying?
I don't know that we have to not decrease it at all. I think we should give a little discussion
Like
to
7
that.
years?
But yeah, instead of the 10, or instead of the 5, do it
Yeah.
at 7. Because again, we're after people who are making a long-term commitment here and are gonna make a long-term investment. You know, if somebody the size of Astro Shapes comes, they're not gonna use this 10-year tax abatement and leave after that. They're far too vested at that point. That would be the way that I see it.
Sure.
So if we can give a way to tip the scales in our favor a little bit, you know, if it's between a city like us and Niles, somebody who's going to stay there for a long time is really going to take that into consideration, in my opinion. I know that if I was looking to invest that amount of money, those are the things I would be looking at, you know. So, I mean, it's up for discussion from anyone, whatever anybody thinks. We all see the structure to it. I would just be in favor of kicking it out a little longer. I don't think the extra, if we go an extra 2 years before we start to break down, I don't think that we're gonna notice it, but I think they're gonna notice it on their balance sheet when they look at it. Or when they go to make that commitment to our city, I think that's something they're gonna notice. Anybody else?
That's the one we passed before.
Correct.
Do we have any word from this company at all?
But they have to apply by the end of this month, right?
We were told they thought by the end of
First quarter.
January, but it was definitely by the end of the first quarter, so
So we have
by the
a
end
few-
of, yeah.
Yeah.
But that would be, I'm just looking for a small way to give us an edge over other cities.
And if they're not here for 10 years, they have to be here for 10 years. Is that how
Well,
it is, or-
the thing would be, or they wouldn't come here and invest the money and not stay 10 years. They wouldn't take a 5-year tax abatement. You're talking about the companies that are gonna employ this many people, you're multi-million dollars invested here. You're not gonna invest in a facility and then take the tax abatement for that amount of time and then take off. And you're just far too vested. I don't think that they would be saving enough money to pick up and leave. That would be my opinion. What would you say, Mr. B? You've read through this quite extensively as
Yeah,
well.
and you're absolutely correct. We're looking to give a break to the long-term investors, and that's why it's spread out that way.
When this still gives a small break to the smaller investors, but what we're trying to attract, I think by just giving us a little edge.
Right, so the big investment, the big returns and everything comes from the big companies, and the smaller investors, they get something, but not as much. Now, they're not invested as much, so they don't get as much back.
Right,
That's the
there's
way the whole
different
scale is set
categories
up.
that they have to
Right.
max out on in order to get the
Yes.
maximum.
Most businesses cannot afford to change locations every couple of years just for a tax abatement. That's,
What's the other, like, you said Gerard, right? Or-
Niles was
Niles.
one.
What is
Niles,
their,
Warren, and Niles is word for word the one.
What we
the
have.
one we have, so
Yeah.
at 5 years they start
Correct.
getting lower.
So I mean, I think if you're
Yeah, 2 years wouldn't hurt us at all.
no, and if you're gonna, if you got 500 employees, that's a substantial amount of money
Absolutely.
to you, you know, based on that. So that would be my opinion. I mean, you guys have looked this over quite a bit and you've dealt with it. What do you think? Do you think it's good how it is? Do you think you'd like to be more aggressive?
I don't know if 2 years is enough
To tip the
to
scales?
tip the scale. I don't know, but I remember when you asked, Shay from Young Samoa Chamber, he kinda said, I don't know if that would make that big of a difference, but again, I don't know. It
Well,
may
we know
make
it
a
wouldn't
difference.
hurt.
It wouldn't, I
It-
don't think it would hurt at all.
It would be better than the other
It would
Correct.
have-
communities.
It would
Yeah.
have
Correct.
to be financial.
Well, I mean, let's just do a little bit of simple math. Let's say you employ 500 people and
Right.
you pay those people $50,000 a year times 500, is that 25 million or is that 2 point, it's 25? So it's $25 million. You're getting a rebate on 2% of that $25 million, which is gonna put you at 500,000,
Mhm.
right? Is that right now, John?
I'm not a mathematician, but yeah, it sounds right.
Okay, so let's just say you're saving 500 grand for those 2 years.
more years,
In
yeah.
2 years, it's $1 million. That probably is enough if you are at that scale of business. Nobody hold me to that math either. That was off the top of my head.
That's right.
But yeah, if you're employing that many people, it is somewhat of a substantial thing, and especially if, let's say, you're building a $5 million facility here. In those 2 years alone, you get 20% of your money back just in an abatement. I think it helps. I mean, I don't want to give away the farm, but at the end of the day, I do want to do something that makes us stand out against other communities. You know, I feel like that's a happy medium, and I feel like if we do it in that manner, we're already not receiving the revenue.
Great.
So if we kick it out a few more years, it's not money we hadn't lost, it's money we were never getting and never using that we're going a few more years without,
Sure.
which we're used to.
Yeah.
So
It sets us up for the future,
that's key.
It's
That's a key.
another plus to attract companies. Anyway.
We got to do something, you know.
Absolutely.
We got to do something because everybody got a little niche of why you should come to their area. You know, and we have those niches too, but this ain't gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Just add another layer to it.
So we don't have to change anything for the smaller, because that was kind of in there too, right?
Yes.
Like the smaller, so we
It
just
would-
kind of leave that in there?
well, it
Should
would
we
also
change
apply
that?
to them also, because it's the smaller or larger, it all
They
depends on
just
your
get less
investment.
abatement.
So they're under, what he's saying is, even the smaller ones would get 7 years. It's the payback and how much it decreases is what you're gonna delay.
but it's such a small, with
But
those
their
small
amount-
bills, it's
right.
just such a small, it might be a couple $100.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
you're a small
Percentage.
Yeah,
company.
and
Right,
some
on
people
that.
may not even fill out the paperwork and go through the trouble of applying because it
Yeah.
would cost them more.
So there's really no
fees
reason
than-
to kind of change that.
I guess my other
No.
question is this: we have to be careful that in doing this, we're not actually losing tax revenue that we already get.
Right,
So
this is
that-
only for new,
So it's going to have to remain to new business, not to.
New or expanding
Well,
business.
that's the thing we would have to be careful of because
Well,
let's.
couldn't we use the
Because-
facade grant for expanding?
The expanding businesses, your current
Something like
employees' taxes would still be paid to the city. Any new employees that you would hire,
Okay.
Oh,
addi-
okay.
any
Oh,
okay,
new
okay.
additional
Yeah,
employees,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
their revenue
So
would be get the
if it's
abatement.
okay, can we just use somebody like Astro Shapes just for the purpose of figuring this out?
Yeah.
Not for, so with all of their employees, they have 450 employees, 480 employees. they wouldn't get an abatement on those 480.
No.
Only new jobs
If they
created.
put down 50 more, go up
Okay.
to 500, those 50 would be eligible.
Which is important because we depend on that tax revenue, and we couldn't afford to
Right.
lose what we currently have.
If you're absolutely correct.
And
So,
like you said, they wouldn't do that for one or two people that they would hire.
Right.
but we would be perfectly fine with losing the new tax revenue on anybody because we
Sure.
weren't currently getting
Right,
that.
yeah.
Exactly.
My fear was, but that's fine, that we wouldn't be losing what we are currently already getting. So that makes sense. If everybody is good with extending it, I think it's enough to set us apart, like I said, and I don't think that it's anything that's going to hurt us.
Legally, is there any problem with that?
What's your thoughts, Mr. Zamoyna?
I like it, and it's not a legal issue, more of a policy issue that, but
We value your opinion around here, even if it's not legally.
yeah, I think it's a good idea. I like where your head's at.
Okay.
So should we move forward to try, we would have to amend what we already passed,
Well,
right?
what we'll do is we'll rewrite the current legislation and change it from 5 to 7 and then resubmit it to replace the existing.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
We're all eyes here.
And then how are we gonna do the last 3 years?
The last 3 years, do you want to?
33 and a third, 33 and a third, and
Whatever's left.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Benson, what's the current step down now? So 5 years,
Currently, it's 20% a year for 5 years, so you get back down to 0.
0.
But you can terminate it any way you want. You can, after the 7 years, you can go with the 20-year decrease, and then in the last year, just chop it all off. You know, so any way you want to do it.
So
We could do-
20, 60.
So I mean, think about, we could do, you could even do the lump sum up
Or
front.
30-30,
Yeah,
30,
30,
40.
40.
You know what I mean? If you wanted to,
Oh,
you
yeah.
could do, over the 3 years, you could do 50, 25, 25. So it was kind of front loaded,
Yeah.
like a bank would do with their interest, which is, it's front loaded, so they get their money first, which I don't think there's going to be any difference. You know what I mean?
about 47, 23, 30.
I think as long as we get down to that number, I think we're good as long as we get
Bad
down to that
math,
number.
bad math.
Do you guys just want to go with a third, a third, a third?
That's going on.
30, 30,
Yeah.
40, I think what
30, 30, 40.
Yeah, that was
I think your
pretty good, 30,
suggestion was
30,
pretty good.
Or if you
30,
wanna go
40.
40, 30, 30, I mean,
Let's
I'm
flip
all,
a coin.
Let's do 40.
I'm all, I like the 40,
No,
30, 30,
No,
I mean, I like
that,
that.
either way is fine with me.
Yeah.
I'm
40, 30, 30.
Yeah, let's do that, let's
Okay.
do 40, 30, 30, and then,
All right.
So even on those years, they'll be, the first year they'll be ahead by 20%. So I mean, it would even extend beyond the 2 years.
Sure. Yeah, it's a little
That one good.
little niche we could have.
Go ahead.
It's not, are you, I don't know.
I'm good with this if everybody else, we got what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
I only have 3, they're just quick ones. We had budget meetings with the fire department, I just wanna put this in your guys' head now, because next year, we have to see how everything goes with the ambulance service, with the EMT. But there's a good probability that we're going to have to try to put a levy on the ballot next year for EMT services. I don't believe that it's possible this year because we don't know what we need to ask for because we haven't went through a whole year of this. But just so you're aware, next year, we have to start this discussion.
You don't think that it's gonna cover?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We have
It may,
no idea what
but I don't know.
we don't know what we would even ask for. And we
Well,
don't
I-
wanna undercut
yeah.
it, we wouldn't want, we would
You
wanna
don't wanna
have
ask for
at
too
least-
much either and then
No.
have an abundance and we took too much from our citizens.
Right, that's why we, after talking with Chrissy, Mark, with everybody, after having at least a year under our belt to get a little bit more of an idea of where
Maybe
or what.
though, at the end of this year, it more than covers.
Do we want-
We don't
Well-
really know, I mean,
Right.
we don't have anything to project this off of.
Exactly.
So to say one way or the other, maybe everybody
Well-
gets a raise because it's more than covered.
We
Maybe,
also don't know
you know
how
what
the
I mean,
demand's
in that
going to
department.
increase. Because the ambulance service is still a very volatile industry right now. So we don't even know what our demands for ambulance services are going to be in a year from now. Right, because Lane is talking about backing out a little bit, there's just our current ambulance service is going to Youngstown now because our company took over Youngstown.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought AMR was gonna be available, but they're pulling out a whole area.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. Maybe we're in the black with that.
Let's.
You know what I mean?
But-
Not in the red. It's,
But that's a discussion we're gonna have probably early on next year.
okay.
Heads up. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I know we talked about it before, was that small business facade grant that I gave everybody copies. And we put on there that the deadline to turn everything in was March 31st, because we wanted to try to get it through the beginning of the year. Chrissy said she's gonna write it into the proposed budget, but I would like to get that out to the businesses as soon as possible.
When is the
if you guys
deadline?
are okay with that. We put on there March 31st as the deadline to turn in everything, including the two quotes from, or I think we put 3.
And
Either
this
2 or
is-
3, but it's been taking everybody so much time to get people to get the quotes. I don't know if we should just move the
How much
deadline.
are we financing the budget with?
25,000.
25,000?
Yes,
So we're
which is what we
taking
did
the first 5? for
Not the first
5,000?
5, we'll discuss that and see where it can be, and then whoever didn't get it could either go to the next following year and be first on the list for the following
Okay.
year. But it's just for facades.
But it is capped at 5,000.
It's kept the 5,000 match, so if they spend 10, we give them 5, just like we did before. We've
Yeah.
done this before with
Yeah.
other businesses, the only thing is this does not include the downtown businesses. So this is more geared towards
Yeah,
Youngstown Point Road.
I think it should be
Yeah.
for all businesses.
Because right now, they're allowed, they qualified to get the money from the commissioners.
I was going to say that.
And that's not a match.
Yes.
So we have to look at our other businesses, not just focus on downtown.
And honestly, that's only in fairness.
Yeah.
They've already got one that isn't a match that they didn't have to spend any money on, and I'm all for putting as much as we can in the downtown. But they've already qualified
Yes.
for a large amount of funds.
Yep.
Far larger than this
Than we've
facade
ever had.
grant that we're going to get.
Yes.
So
But
I
if
think
it-
it would be fair to go.
Are you guys all okay if we get that information out?
Sure.
Yeah.
She already has it into the budget, but the budget obviously hasn't passed for the new year, but I wanna make sure that's okay with you guys before we do something. And the last thing, we have some really good news. I talked to Mr. Ballack, here last week, and the Independent Baseball League has officially come back to Struthers Baseball League. So the
Alright.
fields were changed, everybody's back on the same team.
That's
Nice.
good.
It all happened the
Alright.
way it should,
Well, that's
so
good.
that is very good.
Perfect.
So that's all done,
So you should have a lot of kids this year.
yes.
Good.
Perfect.
Just one
What's
little
what's gonna
update.
go into the Dairy Queen that's going across the street?
They're,
What's
in
Another
the one across the street, it's gonna be a brazier. They're demoing the one
I know,
on
what are
our
we gonna
side.
do with the one that they're demoing on Struthers side?
Well, that'll be.
That'll be that they own it.
Yeah, that'll be.
I don't know that they're gonna wanna put anything on it.
Yes.
Which,
Hold on.
If
that's
they
a
were
whole nother
smart, they would just
conversation.
keep it and not do anything with it if they were smart, because that would diminish it to competition across the street. And that's,
But they already called and asked for the demo
So it's
permit.
not the same people that have it?
Yes, it is
Yes,
the same
yes.
people,
Same people.
but they're
More
not
than
gonna,
likely, that one's going to be demoed.
they called, they asked, they called. So it'll
well,
be flat.
think about it in these terms, and this happens all the time, right? You know why Jogga Lake closed?
Why?
Because Cedar Fair bought it,
Mm-hmm.
who owns Cedar Point.
Right.
Why keep 2 parks open when you could close one? And you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna drive the extra 45 minutes or an hour to go to Cedar Point. Now we have one set of expenditures, and you were gonna get the same amount of revenue, and that's what they do. So if they open one across the street, they don't want a Burger King, they don't wanna sell it, and the Burger King goes in, and then that's fighting their profits across the street, so.
So they'll just keep the land?
I would assume, I mean,
They'll
I know
probably
nothing
take great
about
care
it.
of it, because it's Mr. Cavelli.
I don't know anything about it,
Who
I
had,
just
who
know.
had the Schwabels then?
That is owned by Anise Algaham, who owns One Stop. He's talked with a few different people about leasing that, and I think his lease price is a little bit high right now.
What?
We've talked with him, I probably talked to him once a week.
He got a good buy on that, but to my understanding, I thought Dairy Queen wanted to go there originally.
Yeah.
They may have talked to him about
That's what
it.
I thought, that would have been nice to keep them
How
in
about
Struthers.
the BMV? We ever hear anything about them?
No, I left them a message. Mark Brenner sent me an email months,
Because
this was
even
a
that would be a
long
good
time
place for
ago.
that.
Oh, it'd be
Yes.
great to have another. Struthers B&B was the best.
Oh,
It
it
really
was.
was.
Yeah.
Then they went to Paul Poland's was awful. You waited forever there. You really did.
But I never got a
It's,
phone call
it's
back.
another business, so that's going a lot to
Yeah, I was gonna
online.
say, they're not gonna open it.
Because you can buy your plates now online for 5 years,
Yeah.
not have to worry about it.
You can really do your license for 8 years.
Is there anything going into the old Eric Ryan's building down there?
We actually have a request for proposal out. We're working with the county CIC. It's been sent to about 30 different developers. We talked to Mr. Angelilli from Greenheart Companies. I don't know that he's still interested in putting in a proposal, but we have an independent company that we're waiting for them to submit. Then we're gonna be sitting down with them and
What are your criterias as far as who deems, who's gonna review the proposals, I guess? Do you have a committee in place for
the
that?
the county, because
Okay.
they're gonna be putting the money. We have set aside, I think it was $250 for that building to bring it up to par, fixing that back wall. But they would be in charge of all that. They'll be in charge of if there's any construction company that needs to be
So
selected.
the county has money put aside for that building?
250,000.
Okay,
Out of the 750,
okay,
that's all through the county CIC.
okay. And when somebody puts in an RFP, if you like their proposal and you go with it, then that money will be expended to fix the building
Yes,
prior to them
Yes.
taking ownership?
yes. But there's little things, like when we met with this independent company, they had mentioned trying to bring some natural light in through the back to light up the basement a little. And one of the things that we talked about needs fixed is that back wall.
Yeah.
So it's stupid for us to go in and put all this money into fixing the back wall
And
if
then
they're
have
gonna
them-
come in
yeah.
and demo it. So there kinda has to be a lot of
Sure.
communication as to what
Challenges with
that.
the basement have always been the ceiling is so low. But the best thing that thing has going for it is the creek behind it, honestly. It really does.
That, from what I understand, that's part of the
I was-
plan that was,
What if Eric Ryan did what he wanted to do down there? It would have been beautiful.
They wanted to tear down all the buildings next to it, have
And
more
put a
parking.
stage
Yeah,
there, yeah.
yeah, but, good, so moving forward on that building then.
Things never move as fast as we want them to, but they do move.
Hey, as long as you're moving in the right direction, right? Anybody else, anything for this committee? Call for a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned.